What's going on, guys? I'm here with part 3 of the Intro to Competitive Pokemon. So this is really great for like complete beginners who have like never really gotten into the competitive aspect of Pokemon. And today I kind of want to talk about team roles, like what kind of Pokemon you will have on a team. It's not just like, oh, you choose all your favorites and you throw them on the team. I mean, you can do that, but you still have to have like some sort of roles and some sort of synergy. Like, what is this Pokemon on the team to do? He's not just there to be there and like look pretty. He's got to add something to the team, uh, or else he's not going to be really helpful. So there's a lot of things that you can have like for roles, but I just want to break it down like just a little bit today, kind of scratch the surface, kind of give you four main things that a Pokemon might do on a team, and it gets a lot deeper than this, but I just want to keep it pretty broad right now, especially for like those who are really new to the game. And I kind of just want to like, if you've heard people talk about like walls and wall breakers and everything, I just want to make those terms seem more clear and kind of get an idea of like what's the archetype of a Pokemon that is a wall. Like, what does it do, what can it do? And I'm gonna stop talking about it. I'm just gonna get right into it. So what I want to start with is, right now we're doing pretty much all Oumons. I just want to start with some walls. So all these Pokemon are considered walls in the metagame. So basically what a wall is it's something that you want to send in to take hits and stop another Pokemon from killing your team. So if you have something like a Kartana with maybe like Leaf Blade and like Smart Strike and stuff, he's gonna have a really hard time taking down Celesteela because Celesteela has a lot of HP and a lot of defenses right there. And what you'll notice is same with all these Pokemon. Toxapex kind of has low HP, but look at his defense. All these walls have like either really great HP or really great defenses or both. So these are all things that will be able to take hits, and they will be able to stop a Pokemon from doing what it's doing. And then they'll be able to fight back with something, usually not a really powerful attack. Sometimes in the case of like Celesteela, he can flamethrow a Kartana, which will always kill it. But a lot of times these things will just be here to like set up a toxic on a Pokemon so that it slowly wears it down, and over time it will kill that thing. So just really great aspects or things for walls to have are access to recovery moves. So something like Chansey has soft boiled, Clefable also has soft boiled, because the whole point is that you want it to come in and then take an attack. Toxapex has recover. Celesteela doesn't actually have any recovery moves other than Leech Seed and Rest. It doesn't even, does it get Rest? All right, yeah, it has Leech Seed and Rest. But then you give it Leftovers, which restores HP every turn, and you can give it Protect, so that you can get lots of Leech Seed recovery and lots of Leftovers recovery. So the idea is once they take an attack, then they can recover their HP back up to full so that they can take more attacks. And if you have something like Toxic on your Pokemon and you Toxic their Pokemon so they're slowly dying every turn, and then you can recover your HP so you're staying alive every turn, you're slowly going to take down that thing that's a threat to your team. So basically what a wall is something that can stop something else on the other opponent's team from taking down your team. So depending on your team itself, the team archetype, I'm going to go over team archetypes probably next video or in a very soon video, but most teams are going to want like at least one or two walls, and you can see that they have physical defense and special defense. So a lot of teams will have like one thing with physical defense, so like physically defensive Clefable, and then like specially defensive Toxapex. Or like a common core that like people like to throw in a lot of teams is Celesteela and Toxapex. and you can make one specially defensive and one physically defensive. So one can take your special hits and one can take your physical hits, so that you can kind of keep your team safe and kind of annoy your opponent so he can't get into attack the rest of your offensive Pokemon that aren't very good at taking hits, but they can deal out a lot of damage. So that's the first one of the 4 that I want to go over today. So just the walls. And there are more than this. These are just a couple examples to give you a good idea. The next thing is called a wall breaker. Now, a wall breaker is an offensive Pokemon that can break a wall. It's exactly how it sounds. These Pokemon are extremely powerful and just have super high attack or special attack, and they can take down the Pokemon that are supposed to stop you from from killing their team. For example, Kyurem Black has Freeze Shock and like ICMZ, and you have 170 attack, and you can run all your EVs in that, and then you can run usually you'll run Jolly, but if you run Adamant, you have 439 attack using a Z move that's going to have like 195 base power. There's almost nothing in the tier that can live that. So something like a Celesteela that wants to wall you and do the Celesteela's job being a wall, if you have a wall breaker and you have your Kyurem and use Freeze Shock with ICMZ on it, it's not going to be doing its job very well. So if it tries to switch in when you use Freeze Shock, you might be able to kill it in 2 hits. And if you kill it in 2 hits and you outspeed it, when it switches in, it doesn't actually get a turn to do anything, because it switches in as you attack it, and then next time you attack it the next turn, it dies, and it never had a chance to do its walling thing, and essentially you just broke through the wall, and that lets other offensive Pokemon on your team take down the rest of their team, because their walls can't switch in anymore because they're dead. So other things that are really great walls in this tier, or wall breakers, would be Choice Specs Ash Greninja with Arc Pulse and Hydro Pump and Water Shuriken. And then the last move, people run like U-Turn or Spikes or sometimes Gunk Shot, because Arc Pulse, Hydro Pump, and Water Shuriken can like smash most of the Pokemon in the tier. There are a couple things that can stop it, maybe like Toxapex and stuff. But if you can get like 1 or 2 flinches on Toxapex with Dark Pulse with Choice Specs, like you have sky high special attack. Like you're gonna be able to kill it. You're gonna be able to break that wall exactly how it's supposed to do. And if you run something like Gunk Shot on this, people try to stop Ash Greninja with a Assault Vest Tapu Bulu, which gives it extra special defense, and all 3 of these attacks are special. But if somebody switches in a Tapu Bulu and you use Gunk Shot, which is a physical move, which they won't be expecting, and it's 4 times effective, that's going to kill the Tapu Bulu in 1 hit. And then next time Ash Greninja comes in and wants to Hydro Pump something, they're not going to have an answer to it, because now their Tapu Bulu is dead. Right? So just really great at breaking down walls. Another thing is Medicham with high jump, Mega Medicham with high jump kick. It's got pure power, which doubles its attack, and its attack just gets insane. If you run Adamant, yeah, it's gonna be like 660 almost, 656. A lot of things in the tier can't take that, and when somebody has to switch out on this move, or just those 2 moves can like smash a lot of things in the tier. Usually you'll run Jolly, but if you run Adamant, like again, it's just gonna break down walls. And the last one I'm going to say is Choice Band Tyranitar, and he can use Stone Edge, and he can Pursuit, which makes it so that if something's trying to switch out on you, you can attack it before it switches out. So Pursuit just smashes things, and next time it tries to switch in, it won't be able to do its job as well. So those are called wall breakers. They're meant to break down the walls that protect your team. Next thing is another defensive kind of Pokemon. It's kind of in between defensive and offensive. We're gonna call these tanks. These are kind of Pokemon that are really good at dealing some damage, but also taking hits for your team. So I talked about Tapu Bulu when I talked about the Greninja. If you use Assault Vest, which adds extra special defense onto you, and then he has Grassy Surge, which heals him a little bit every team. He has the move Horn Leech, which heals him all the time. And then he has Nature's Madness, so that even if something that Tapu Bulu can't do much damage to switches in on him, he can take away half of its health on their switch in. So even if a grass move isn't very effective, say a Zapdos switches in, use Nature's Madness, half of its health is gone, and you still have the Grassy Surge, which is healing your health, and he's got good defenses. So you can run fully specially defensive, or there's like some crazy EV sets online. If you look for them, you'll be able to find it. But he can just take hits really well, and he can also do really big damage. So that's the idea of a tank. You can take hits. You can some people also call them pivots and stuff. It depends how you EV them and how you play them and what they're meant to do on your team, but you'll get a hang of it after you start playing a little more. They're just meant to take hits and then maybe switch out, or take hits and do big damage. So Tapu Bulu can come in on something that's trying to do big damage to you. Your opponent switches out, you Nature's Madness on their switch out. So you take the hit, you recover some health with Grassy Surge, and then you take away half their health with Nature's Madness. Magearna has a couple of sets. Some people run a setup sweeper Magearna, which I'm going to talk about a little later in this video though. But you can also have the Assault Vest Magearna, which just, like, it has so much special defense. It's really a great specially defensive wall, and it also has Volt Switch, so it can come in, take a hit, and then switch out for a partner Pokemon. And it's got really, really great move pool, and can just hit like tons of different Pokemon with Iron Head, Flare Cannon, Ice Beam, Volt Switch, Hidden Power Fire to hit something like Ferrothorn, which is another walling Pokemon. Heatran is another Pokemon with a lot of sets, but it's very bulky, and some of its sets are really great at like throw leftovers on it, so it has a little bit of recovery. You can also run it on a team with Tapu Bulu to weaken Earthquakes and give Heatran some extra recovery. You can throw Teleport, whoops. You can throw Protect on it, some Toxic, and like Lava Plume. Lava Plume can burn an opponent, which halves their attack, so that just lets Heatran be a better tank. It can come in and then do damage to your opponent. You can also set up something like Stealth Rocks. I'm going to talk about, like, when I go more in depth about roles on teams, I'm going to talk about like hazard setters, hazard clearers, and clerics and everything. But Heatran's a pretty good hazard setter with like Stealth Rock. But you can be a mix of things. You can be like a tank hazard setter. So those are all good tanks, and Tangrowth is another one. Slap an Assault Vest on it. I know we slap an Assault Vest on all these tanks. It just gives them really good special defense, and you'll see that like on Pokemon that have really good move pools, like they have a lot of really good attacks and other ways to heal them. So Tangrowth, every time it switches out, it gets a third of its maximum HP back with Regenerator. That's really good for like a tank, and if you increase its special defense with an Assault Vest, it becomes a very bulky Pokemon, and it's hard to kill, and it's got a great move pool. So it's just a great thing to be a tank. It can take hits, it can knock off Pokemon item on the switch-ins, so it's good at taking hits and then dealing some back. And the last thing I want to talk about is the setup sweepers. So once you have your walls that protect your team, your wall breakers to try to break the walls on your opponent's team, your tanks, last one I want to talk about in this video is kind of your setup sweepers. So these all have like really great moves to just take advantage of raising their attack and raising their speed, or just raising their attack and they already have really good speed or something, and they can blow through a team all by themselves. So something like Volcarona with Quiver Dance, once you get rid of the walls that can wall Volcarona. So say your opponent has a Chansey, Volcarona can't really do a whole lot versus Chansey, but once you can kill that Chansey with your wall breakers and stuff, then you can come in with Volcarona and essentially just win the game because there's no more walls to stop it. And if you Quiver Dance, you raise your special attack, special defense, and speed. You're gonna outspeed Pokemon so they can't hit you, and you're gonna raise your special attack so that you can just run through things. Another popular one right now is Hawlucha with Swords Dance and Electric Seed with Unburden. So basically what this does is it switches in on an electric terrain from Tapu Koko. When you do that, Electric Seed raises your defensive stage, and that uses your item. So when you use your item, Unburden doubles your speed, so now you're super fast, you have extra defense, use Sword Stance so that you have a lot more attack, and then Acrobatics does double damage if you don't have your item. Thankfully, you lost your item to use the Unburden boost, so now you're fast, strong, you have a strong Acrobatics, you have high jump kick, and this thing can just run through teams if you're not prepared. I like running Zapdos on a lot of my teams because 1, I like Zapdos, 2, I think Zapdos is just an insanely good Pokemon, and 3, Zapdos is really good at stopping Hawlucha, and it's also really good at stopping Kartana because flying and fighting are both not very effective on Zapdos. But if you don't have something like Zapdos on your team, Hawlucha might just walk through your team. Another good one is Zygarde. He can use Dragon Dance, which raises his speed and attack. A lot of Pokemon get Dragon Dance. There are a lot more setup sweepers in the tier that in the tier and in the game that you just have to be cautious about, and you want to stop them from setting up, or you want to make sure you have a wall that really, really stops them. So Dragon Dance, and then you can use Thousand Arrows, which can hit things that are even it's a ground type move that hits things that are flying, so it can hit anything. So that's another really great setup sweeper that you have to watch out for. And Kartana can come in with Sword Stance. People also run Choice Scarf Kartana so that it's super fast, and 181 attack is like just, it's 11 points higher than Kyurem Black, and Kyurem Black is insane. So you could use Kartana as a wall breaker. You can use Kartana as a Choice Scarf, which raises your speed, late game sweeper. You can use it as a setup sweeper with Swords Dance. So the idea of a setup sweeper is just that they come in kind of later in the game after their walls, what we call checks. A wall might check a sweeper so that they can't do their sweep. So that's the term we use. It checks it or it counters it. So once you get rid of any checks for these setup sweepers, then they can come in, set up, and win the game. So 4 main types of Pokemon that you would want to throw on a team: walls, wall breakers to break the walls, tanks to kind of take hits and do some damage, and then setup sweepers, or just some things that don't need to set up, like other sweepers like Kartana with 4 attacks and a Choice Scarf. That doesn't really need to set up. It can kind of just come in and do damage. So that's a good late game sweeper. But just those kind of 4 main things. And if you can kind of wrap your head around that, then you're going to have a lot better of an idea of how to build competitive teams. So if you like this, give it a thumbs up. It's getting kind of long, so I'm going to talk about some other stuff in a future video about other roles that these things on your team can do. So peace out. If you need any help, check out some of my other videos. You can kind of see teams I play with and all. So peace. Have a nice day.